prominent public figures being removed from the face of the internet by social media companies for having controversial or contrarian views is a relatively new thing. Over the past 10 years or so, this so-called deplatforming has claimed several heavy hitters: Donald Trump, Alex Jones, and most recently Andrew Tate. I don't think it is any sort of coincidence that most of these individuals occupy the right side of the political spectrum and express generally the polar opposite views from most of the creators and administrators of these platforms. I think this is why most people interpret this issue as a matter of freedom of speech, and perhaps it is, but the recent furore over Andrew Tate losing the platform he had to espouse his views got me to thinking of the peculiarities of even having a platform in the first place. This concept is not even 20 years old, and is only a thing because companies like YouTube, Twitter and Facebook invented websites which allowed people to express themselves in a way which we never had before, and because these sites are free and easy to use, their user base has exploded, with YouTube for example having almost 2 billion daily users. That's an absolutely mind-boggling amount of people that can potentially be reached. It's unprecedented in fact. If we go back 30, 40 or 50 years, what type of platform did people have to express their views? Almost none, to be honest. They had their families and friends, perhaps places like the local community centres or boozers, and if you were really passionate about something, I guess you could grab a box and a megaphone and take to the main street and attempt to influence hundreds or maybe thousands of people with your views if you were lucky. The only media which had any sort of comparable reach to the social media of today was TV, radio and print. Let's face it though, the likelihood of ever getting on TV was sitting somewhere between slim and fuck all, and if you did somehow make it on the box, are you getting a chance to say your own opinion? No, you would in all likelihood be hosting some brain dead sludge meant to placate the masses. Sure, some edgier content did make its way onto the networks late at night, probably with viewerships of tens or hundreds of thousands, and telly back then was only national, so in the UK you would only have a maximum potential audience of like 80 million, not even close to what is offered by the internet. There are some renegades who have taken to the airwaves illegally and set up their own pirate radio stations to broadcast their music and ideas, but this was out with the confines of the law, and they were very often shut down, and in all honesty, these types of broadcasts were seriously underground. Sure, they had die-hard followings, but small followings generally. And then you had print. I guess you could write a book to get your thoughts and feelings out there. Good luck finding a publisher. Back in the day, deplatforming wasn't a problem, because 99% of people had no fucking chance of ever having a platform to begin with. So we can see how lucky we are, our current generation. The only barrier of entry to reaching millions or potentially billions of people is having an email address and a smartphone, which nowadays is absolutely no barrier at all. These platforms are completely free to join. The only thing we all must do is submit to the terms of service. We must agree that we won't spread hate or entice violence. Is what constitutes violence and hate on these platforms ambiguous? Sure. Do they seem to make it up as they go along? Maybe. Is it only usually deemed hate when targeted against those supported and protected by the left? I guess it can seem like that sometimes. Politics aside for a second, my point here is that to have access to these platforms and their massive audiences is a privilege, not a right. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, etc. are not government provided public services, they are businesses. They are run for profit. So if you want to run around saying that women are property and should be treated as second class citizens, or even worse, that they are turning all the frogs gay, then don't be surprised when they turn around and throw you off the internet. Again, having this kind of reach is a privilege and not a right. Do I agree with deplatforming? Hell no. I don't believe silencing and banishing descending or difficult or stupid views is the way to deal with them. The way to counteract such things should be with reasoned arguments and logic, to show their arguments to be the incendiary and baseless nonsense that they generally are, to educate their audience, not to silence them. And like I said previously, when they can change the goalpost whenever they want to say that you broke the terms of service and not give you any clear reason or examples as to how, then that is dangerous and something that should be stopped, as it can be used to silence any people who speak out against the regime with reasonable criticism backed up with evidence and supported by facts, which is terrifying. But shouting to your young and impressionable audience dangerous and damaging ideas as loudly and as frequently as you can is not the same thing. Again, banning these people would not be my course of action, but I can only ask, what the hell did you expect?